Mathematical Principles of Social Science was written in 2013. In the 11 years since, human society and the market have continued to evolve along the lines of the mathematical models set out in the book. Yet the number of people who have read it through and understood it for themselves can still be counted on one hand. Is the content really so difficult? Before answering that question, look at two cases. 1. Common sense truth. People are selfish. The smartphone is the mother of all platforms, and it belongs to the consumer. Leisure time is the producer of the data that feeds software, the father of every application, and that too belongs to the consumer. Consumption is the oxygen of the market, the thing that decides what lives and what dies, and it also belongs to the consumer. Consumers should therefore build a universal application public marketplace, take in all future consumption infinity, generate public profits the way central banks print money infinity, mobilize society's intelligence to build automated social enterprises under consumer ownership, share equity on an 80-20 basis, consumers holding 80%, capital holding 20%, and share a much larger pie infinito. This is an objective requirement that benefits everyone. Self-interest alone is enough reason for any person to spread the idea. If every person did spread it for their own sake, the whole country would know inside a day. Media outlets would scramble to cover it, technology firms and capital would compete to bid for the work, and political authority would race to put its name to a finished thing. Do you think this will actually happen? No. Why is it that you admit at the start that people are selfish, then arrive at a conclusion which says people do not deserve to be selfish, do not deserve to share for their own benefit? 2. Common sense truth. Parents love their children. Knowledge is essentially information. The marginal cost of transmitting information over the internet is zero. Parents should therefore band together to build an intelligent education platform, issue stored credit, buy in courses from the best teachers anywhere in the world, serve every child, and make undergraduate-level education universally available. Any parent who loves their child, on seeing this objective requirement, ought to share it at once. In a single day, all of society would know. Technology and capital would race to help parents build it and put it into operation, and parents themselves would be free to choose who carried out the work. Do you think parents will immediately share it? No. Why is it that the conclusion you end up accepting is that parents do not deserve to love their own children? Over the past 10 years, the author and a number of independent media voices from the consumer side have put this question in various forms to at least 100 million people. Their answer, expressed through what they actually do, has consistently been no. That people are selfish and that parents love their children are truths accepted across the whole of humanity. They are not in doubt. 100 million people unable to draw an inference from such truths shows up the architecture of our thinking very clearly. They decide the self. The objective decides the subjective. The past, with its cyclical disasters and wars, decides the future. To put it another way, they, the objective and the historical, live inside each person's brain, and they quietly tamper with the logical judgments that brain tries to make, so that the brain cannot reason from what it actually believes ought to be the case. This is why reading a body of social science that follows the principle of economic reasoning brings out confusion and contradiction in the reader. The problem lies in mental architecture, not in intelligence. The architecture decides the approach, and the approach decides the outcome in the real world. The first layer of the human brain's mental architecture is violence infinity, the power of life and death, fearing the strong and bullying the weak, taking the side of whoever is stronger without asking who is right or what the consequences are. This pattern has been trained over tens of millions of years of life in the jungle. It is the most instinctive and most practiced response we have. The response is primitive, without morality, without logic, without kindness. And so it naturally points to the worst-case reading of any situation. The set of worst-case readings is a kind of hell. Inside it, even a small effort, even raising one's hand, does not feel worth making to save oneself, let alone one's own child. The second layer is power, which is to say, organized violence, also wielding the right to decide who lives and who dies. The same instinct applies. fear the strong, bully the weak, line up behind whoever holds power. This layer goes looking for virtues in leaders, in authorities, in dead saints, and the group resonates with those virtues and amplifies them until the figure is pushed up onto the altar infinity. At the same time, the layer goes looking for faults in ordinary people and for faults in any new idea, so that every individual learns they are surrounded by malice, envy, mockery, slander, and abuse. It is the African savanna, where the herds thunder across the plain. Anyone who wants to settle down and farm must first ask the zebras for permission. Left to run for long enough, this kills off whatever goodwill any one person might have shown towards humanity and society, which is to say, it kills the impulse behind any new idea. The layer has been trained over several thousand years of agricultural society, and every brain handles it fluently by now. Cooperation can only occur when power and authority drive people into it. What counts as goodness and virtue is whatever the authorities prescribe. The two layers overlay each other and resonate. The result is that your brain runs on a framework in which the world should be led by what should not be. People should impose costs on people, a zero-sum game. They infinity should impose costs on themselves. One should fear the strong and bully the weak. One should avoid harm and pursue gain. One should look for virtues in the powerful and for faults in the weak. These are the principles the mind calls on first by default whenever it is asked to process something. They are also the principles that allow monopolists to stop worrying about competitors. They are the reason there can be familiarity between people, but no logical trust. They lock down a person's own capacity for goodwill. They prevent a person from believing that anyone else might be acting kindly on their own initiative, and they filter kindness and beauty out of incoming information altogether. Every person reads the world through the worst-case assumption. Every person lives inside that set of worst-case assumptions. Every person cannot bring themselves to see that they have already lost the right to be selfish, or that they have already lost the right to love their own children. All of this runs against human nature, against common sense, and against the laws of the natural world. Inside a framework of this kind, science cannot arise, and it cannot even be understood. Science depends on a steady chain of inference from axioms, which is to say, from common sense itself. A person who concedes that something is an axiom at the start and then takes it back further on cannot follow science through, least of all social science.